Welcome back after that short pause. Now, where was I? Speaking about, you know, social conditioning and continuously, like, taking your time to do things. And that's what I think also breeds this, like, deep, like, rebellion. So when you get like 15 or 16, you rebel because you're like, what the shit? I'm not doing these things. I don't like doing these things. But people keep telling you that you should be doing them. And it's like there's never this point in mainstream society of like accepting that like what we're doing is fucked up, right? Like there's never a time when like George Bush is going to come out and be like, you know what, we really fucked up. Like invading and bombing Iraq. Like it's like they never do that. Like they always want to like shirk responsibility. They always want to like just be like, oh, someone else. It was someone else. And so like we just constantly always, it's just like this constant process of just letting them get away with it. You're always letting them get away with it. And that doesn't breed like good people. That breeds like shitty, like weak ass people. So there's just like all these little things that pile up, and then it's like they change the trajectory of where you're going. You're like a fucking comet, like heading through space, and these little changes like divert you, and society's heaping these diversions onto you. Like you're thinking like first you're not like you don't look good enough, then you don't have enough money, then you're not smart enough, then you don't have the right kind of education. You went to Yale, but you wish you went to Harvard. It's just this constant process, right?
Oh, we're gonna do it. Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes.
And it's like more than anything, what you always need to eventually come to is like, you know what? I'm the one who's got everything. I'm the one who's fine. And like, of course, I'm guilty as shit of not doing this at times. We all are, where we just like fall away frivolously and do the opposite of what we say. But it's like this process of trying. Like you're trying to get with the Tao, with the way, and travel along that path. And so like you can eventually leave a path for then someone else. Like you have the capacity to leave a trail so that more people can come later, follow that. Because honestly, where would we be? Like where would I be right now without Alan Watts leaving tons and tons of recordings? Terrence McKenna, Joe Rogan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these guys who did awesome things and then blazed that trail so that I can then look and see like, oh, it's possible. You know, it's possible to do that. It's like that once someone ran the 4-minute mile, everybody started doing it because all of a sudden they could understand that, yeah, we can do this. Of course we can. Before, everyone thought it wasn't possible. So I don't really... It's like I try to put all of this value into my own self, and I'm constantly trying to do that. So that when I walk down the street, it's like I'm constantly just course correcting. Like, you know, you allow yourself to be diverted to paying attention to someone else. Like some guy drives by in a BMW that's just like sick, just blacked out and like pounded, and you allow yourself to divert, and you think for a moment like, oh, I don't have a BMW like that. But what you need to do is revert back and then be like, oh, it actually doesn't make any difference because I'm already doing exactly what I need to do. This is my path. And that guy probably in the BMW is sitting there being like, oh shit, I wish I was sitting at that cafe. Like, that guy is carefree. Meanwhile, I have like all these fucking BMW payments that I can't afford. Right? The grass is always greener, as they say. So it's like the more that you can keep this up, the more you're like drawing in like your energy. Keeping it all like so that you're not losing that energy. Otherwise, you're constantly being like your attention's being diverted, and then when it comes time to use your attention, you don't have it, right? Like you've been constantly like constantly like dispelling it like little bits at a time. So it's almost having yourself into a meditative state at all times. You're always just reverting back into that, because if you were living in the jungle and having to like constantly be aware of where like poisonous snakes were and how you're gonna hunt like that next like like antelope, you're going to be always geared into that, always not wasting any time. You can't waste time. You have to keep developing, keep growing, you're just a shark. You're just sharking through the water. And anytime you forget that, it's like somehow the universe is going to like kind of smack you a little bit. And where my catastrophes have come from is those times when I don't adhere to this policy, where I forget, I don't look at the universe. And that's like, like it that's where you can get hurt. And then you have to come back, revert back. So I feel like now I don't ever want to stray from this path, because I know how hard it is to get back. So that's why I'm so I pay such attention to making these course corrections, because I want to make sure that each one that I make is bringing me back into alignment with my deepest purpose. And in order to like find out your deepest purpose, it takes like some effort. It takes some time. You have to trial and error. You have to check something out. Maybe it doesn't work, then you have to check something else out. You're always doing it. Some people are lucky where they come out and it's like so clear that they know for sure I'm going to be an Olympic swimmer. But actually, there was this book I was reading, and he talked about where he interviewed all these like Olympic rowers and talked to them, like, was asking them like, why did they become Olympic rowers? Like, how did they get into it? And he was expecting to hear all these rowers just say like, oh, you know what, I popped out and was just like rowing the whole time. Like I was rowing my way right out of my damn baby carriage. But what he found out instead was that like many of these rowers just kind of found their way there. They were like, I don't really know why I'm here. I just sort of like one thing led to another and now here I am. And so it's like nothing's ever that clear cut. Like people are always questioning themselves. People are always trying, making mistakes. It's our whole species does that. And that's what it is about to be an adult. It's this, you are that person doing that. You look to any of the great people and they were making mistakes. Like often I talk about Winston Churchill. During like the First World War, he was constantly he had this like massive disaster take place at Gallipoli, and then he was like completely blackballed. And then what happened during the Second World War? He was like an absolute champion. So sometimes people have to fail huge. But if you stay the path, right, it's about staying the path, not getting discouraged. And like, I get discouraged all the time, but I'm trying to course correct myself back on. All right. Well, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Beyond Water. Go over and check out that YouTube channel, get some information, and there's going to be lots of products coming from them soon enough, like some chaga teas, chaga tinctures. They're going to be available across North America. And just mention this podcast, mention my name, and you'll help out the podcast. Cool. Thanks. Peace out.